In earnings news now, luxury homes builder Toll Brothers beating profit and revenue estimates in Q4. But CEO Douglas Yearley warning the rising mortgage rates remain a big headwind for the housing market, causing contracts to slump 60% in the past quarter. Many buyers are still cautious, preferring to wait till there's more clarity on where rates are heading. Let's get more of the outlook in the housing market in the United States with Patrick Carroll, founder and CEO of Carroll. He joins us from Miami, Florida. Patrick, thank you very much indeed for joining us. So the housing prices are falling nationally, but not falling equally across the country. Just walk us through what that regional disparity looks like.
Yeah, I mean, my company is focused on the Sun Belt, which is basically the southern half of the United States. We've seen a lot of people post-COVID move down to these markets, and you've continued to see a lot of growth coming from them. So I think where you're seeing markets, continue to be strong, where there's, job growth. There's a ton of job growth in Texas, tons in Florida, tons in Georgia. I think the markets you're seeing really get hit hard are markets like California, probably the Northeast as well. But, the Sun Belt markets continue to be an affordable option, both for companies and, employees.
Right. So the Sun Belt is holding up reasonably well, despite the higher rates environment. Just walk us through, Patrick, the inventory trends as you see them in the markets that you operate in. And if you can give us a steer on where that leaves the national picture and overall the outlook for the markets in 2023.
Yeah, I mean, we focus on multifamily housing for rent, but, as these home builders that are, in the for sale sector, as they have unsold homes build up, it's got to have an effect on pricing. The more homes they have, the longer they have to hold them, the less, the more they're going to drop pricing. But with interest rates where they are, it's now double the cost of what was a year ago to finance a home. So people can afford literally 50% of a home they could a year ago. So it's got to have an effect on pricing. As inventory piles up, these builders are publicly traded. They're going to have to get inventory off their books. And that's going to continue to drive prices down, have a lot of pressure on housing prices.
Patrick, let me quickly jump into the question here. I mean, probably one of the biggest single contributors to the weakness in the housing market that we're starting to see and that we're talking about right now is what's been going on with mortgages, right? North of 7%, that's getting painful. What I want to know is, I mean, you've probably been through at least a couple of cycles in the housing market, right? A lot of people are saying, look, if you want a sense of whether or not the U.S. economy is headed into recession, watch housing and also watch auto. So far, neither of those have really caved. But what is your sense after having been through a couple of market cycles? Does it feel like we're heading into recession now or not?
Absolutely. I mean, the housing market in the United States is such a big driver for the economy. And you're seeing it right now. I mean, you're seeing less and less home sales happen. You're seeing buyers unable to afford mortgages, and that it really has a domino effect. And so as buyers look at it to buy and they hear things on TV like this, where they're saying the housing market's getting soft, it has a major psychological effect on people. So they hold off on buying. As sellers are desperate to sell, maybe they lose their job or they can't afford their interest rate payments anymore. They start dumping properties. As these builders, get inventory piling up, they start dumping properties. So it's really like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So it's a scary time right now. I mean, things can be really, really good for a while. And as we saw in 2008 and as we've seen in other downturns, they can turn on a dime.
Yeah, I got to ask you, what is your read? Where is the 30-year mortgage headed? We've just hit and gone over 7%, and this is, I guess, directly correlated to where a lot of other folks that we talk to are looking for Federal Reserve rates to head.
I mean, I'm optimistic that it comes down, but I just don't see it. I mean, I haven't seen a 30-year rate this high since before I started. I started in the business in 2004. And, these are kind of unprecedented times. But we have a Federal Reserve that's very aggressive. And, I don't see really a way that these rates go lower anytime soon. So I think there will be some pain, to come. I think a lot of people that, bought probably more home than they could afford, or a lot of people that were waiting to buy are probably kicking themselves right now. And so I think, it's going to affect commercial real estate as well. I mean, my business is multifamily housing, and it's relatively, stable right now. But if you look at an office building, if you have a loan coming due and you were at a low interest rate, when that loan comes due, you're not going to be able to refinance. So you're going to see a lot of trouble, I think, in the commercial real estate market as well.
Right. Thanks, Martin. I do want to get this out of the way, Patrick. Is there anything in the dynamics of residential real estate and the outlook for 2023 that does suggest any parallels with what we saw in 07, 08 and the subprime mortgage crisis?
Absolutely. I mean, I think, 08, 09 was caused by debt, mortgage defaults and things like that. I think you're going to start seeing that, as people in the United States are getting hit on all, angles. They're getting hit at the gas pump. They're getting hit at, cost of food. Everything is up. So as the cost of housing continues to go up, as everything goes up, and people see on the news that the prices, the price of their home is down, you're going to have people that start walking away from those homes, handing the keys back to the lenders. And, things are all good until they're not. And leverage is a powerful tool on the way up, and it's a powerful tool on the way down. So I think, 08, 09 was caused by over leverage and kind of reckless, lending. And unfortunately, I think you're going to start to see a lot of that come out in this market.
Oh, no, not again. Gosh. So listen, that's at that end of the market, subprime. I got to ask you, though, for the folks that made a lot of money and rode this market up till we've got the 30-year now past 7%. How leveraged are folks? What I'm talking about is speculators. And, in this run, probably like in the last one, your neighbor is probably a speculator as well, right? Flipping houses left, right, and center.
For sure,
how does that demographic look right now? How leveraged are they? How many homes on average do folks own?
Not good. I mean, look, if you look at Blackstone's BREIT, 70% of the withdrawals came from, or redemptions came from Asian investors. So Asian investors, and a lot of that was due to margin calls. So that's leverage on leverage. So that's a lot of speculation. That's a lot of leverage being used. But it happens across the board. You ask, who's over levered? Well, if house prices are down 30% and you were, before you were 70%, leveraged, now you're, closer to 100% with that, 30% down. So I think as prices come down, a lot more people are going to find out they're over leveraged. And, it's really a shame. People think they're prudent, but they also don't expect prices to go down 30%.
Patrick, in terms of the future, the millennials, we all know, do want to get their foot on the property ladder. Affordability is a big issue on a global basis. But in terms of a driver for the longer term, how much of a dynamic is that going to be?
I'm in the multifamily for rent business. So what happens typically is interest rates go up. It becomes, harder and harder to finance a home. So it keeps people renting longer, which is, it's good for me, but it's unfortunate for those people that want to buy homes. It becomes unattainable. So, I don't see a lot of good things happening for that, generation, unfortunately. I think the days of everybody owning a home with the white picket fence and the 2.5 children, I think those days are gone. I think you're going to see more and more people be renters for life. And the, quote unquote American dream of owning a house is probably going to be out of reach for a lot of people.
Wow. Okay. So it's either rent or live at home with mom and dad.
Sorry, Patrick, very quickly. I mean, given what you are seeing from the Biden administration with the infrastructure build out, surely affordable housing, that should be an area policy priority as well.
Absolutely. It's been a hard thing for the government to figure out. I mean, guys like myself are not going to work for free. And, you have to get an adequate return on your time and your capital. So, you really need a good solution to address, affordable housing. It's a huge issue that really the government should be focusing on. I mean, it's not going to get better anytime soon, especially in a lot of these coastal markets. I mean, it's out of reach for many people. I mean, I spend, almost half my time up in New York, and to afford an apartment in the city is just it's kind of a pipe dream. And to buy a condo in the city or an apartment in the city is really, I mean, you have to be extremely wealthy to do so. So I think, you know, affordable housing should be on the top of the government's agenda.
Indeed, Patrick, and that's the situation that we're facing here in Asia as well, in Singapore, Hong Kong, and in mainland China. Great conversation, Patrick. Thank you very much indeed for your time. Patrick Carroll there,
Yes,
CEO.
sir.